Developments into legal battles over the president's deportation and detention policies. The Supreme Court ruled the Trump administration must facilitate the return of a Salvadoran migrant living in Maryland, mistakenly deported to a notorious prison in El Salvador. The court is deferring to a district judge. She is demanding answers about what is being done to try to bring Gilmar Abrego Garcia back to the U.S. Later this afternoon, a court deadline in the case of Mahmoud Khalil. He's the former Columbia University grad student facing potential deportation for his pro-Palestinian activism. In a statement, Secretary of State Marco Rubio telling a Louisiana judge that Khalil's presence in the U.S. damages American foreign policy interests. Joining us now, NBC News senior Homeland Security correspondent Julie Ainsley and former U.S. attorney and MSNBC legal analyst Barbara McQuaid. Julia, let's start with a Salvadoran gentleman who entered the U.S. Some years ago. The Supreme Court left it up to the lower court to ensure he is returned to the U.S. There were some words used in all of this back and forth that has some people looking at some gray areas. Can you explain to me what those are?
Yeah, that's right, Jose. And that's why both sides are calling this a win, which of course is impossible when it comes down to the very binary decision of whether or not they're going to bring this man back from El Salvador. What the court said was that the words facilitate and effectuate that were used by the district court judge to tell the government how to bring back this man, that they needed to facilitate and effectuate his return, should have merely been facilitate. They say that is within the authority of the court to tell the government to do, but to tell the government to effectuate his return may be overstepping, going a bit too far, and stepping on some presidential authorities. So to that, of course, the Justice Department is considering that a win, but his lawyer actually sees it the other way, and this is what he said.
It seems that they're determined to try to kick the can and play games with this. I'm very reassured, though, that the district judge is not playing games with this and recognizes that a man's life is at stake here.
And when he's talking about kicking the can, he's referring to the Justice Department asking this lower court judge to put off her hearing until next week so that they could have more time to answer questions about how they plan to bring him back. But we just learned from our producer inside the courtroom that that hearing is still going forward as planned at 1 p.m. today here in Maryland.
So, if you would, Barbara, this whole thing of facilitate, effectuate, what it should have been just facilitate versus effectuate, it's like a lot of legal talk for two words. Can you kind of help explain that?
Yes, and so the question is this a win for Mr. Garcia or a win for the United States? I think it's both. But I think when you care about being returned to the United States, I think Mr. Garcia by far has the bigger victory here. The reason for the challenge with those words is, I think what the court wants to be able to tell the government is, you have to go back and try with all of your effort to bring him back. He was wrongfully removed from this country. He belongs here. You have an obligation to go get him, so go get him. The effectuate part, they thought, perhaps was too broad because there's no guarantee that the United States will be successful. So if they were ordered to effectuate, for example, and El Salvador said no, would the U.S. government then be required to use military force to go get him back? And I think the answer to that would be no, because of the Constitution's role for the president in leading foreign policy, military matters as the commander-in-chief, and national security matters. So facilitate means do everything you can to get him back. But of course, you can't control the actions of a foreign sovereign. And so we understand that you might not be able to make it happen.
And Julia, switching to the other case, the case of that Columbia grad student, he's a legal permanent resident. What's happening in court today?
Well, he's going before an immigration judge because he's been detained in Louisiana after he was arrested March 8th at Columbia University, where, as you said, he was a grad student and his U.S. citizen wife is just days away from giving birth to their first child. The immigration judge in this case has asked the United States to DHS to put forward evidence about why and on what grounds they want to deport him. He's a green card holder. And of course, you can't detain someone indefinitely if there's no case to deport him. So it's a matter of deportation versus release here. Rather than giving evidence about his ties to any kind of violent actors or anything he may have done, instead what they did was they put forward a 2-page memo from Secretary of State Marco Rubio that describes him and one other person whose name is redacted as having a presence in the United States that is somehow at odds with the interest of U.S. foreign policy. So that's not really going as far as providing evidence, merely saying this is the policy we are following. So we'll see what that immigration court judge has to say about that.